If a company's thinking about restructuring, the first thing I would say is stop right now and think about what you're trying to achieve, and then look at how you're operating versus how you're aligned in your vertical dimension. What I mean by that is, how are you operating in terms of competition? Are your leaders or are your areas set up to compete with each other because you have competing priorities? You know, an interesting concept that I've talked to leaders about is the fact that they believe competing priorities are actually the nature of a matrix, and they're not. You can actually eliminate competing priorities, but you can't do that with a restructure. You have to do it with something else. So I think restructuring causes more problems than it fixes because it really isn't fixing the right problem. So if I'm using an intervention that's designed to fix one problem and it doesn't even fix that problem and actually creates new and different problems, then it's the wrong solution. So from a restructure perspective, again, if I'm trying to fix a silo, which is, you know, just a split between two areas because they're not able to work together. Well, when I restructure using a one-dimensional approach, then what happens is everyone realigns and then creates a new silo. And again, I want to tie back to the fact that when I restructure, or when an organization restructures, when you look at that structure, you need to actually change the rules of how people work together. And that doesn't happen very often, right? And that ties us back to operationalize. But even if we don't want to use that big term because it's a scary term to say, oh, I have to operationalize, which I just spent a year restructuring, what do I do now? You have to actually let leaders know that there's a different set of rules that I have to navigate in a business when I need to work across that business versus within a particular area. When I've talked to companies in the past to ask them why they've restructured, because it's for us, we're typically become involved after the restructure. And I always say, well, what were you trying to achieve? What was the problem before? And they would say that they weren't able to get people to work across the organization, or they're trying to align to a new strategy. One organization was trying to achieve efficiencies in their organizational effectiveness and efficiencies. So they centralized the group. That way, if I centralize, I can get economies of scale, I can actually reduce resources. I find that a lot of restructures happen during the time that an organization at the same time is looking to downsize and reduce resources. The two often go hand in hand. So what happens is, not only am I worried that I might lose my job, right? But once I restructure, there's less people in the organization as well. So they're trying to save money from that perspective as well. The problem is that when they do that restructure, they're not actually reducing any of the other work that needs to get done. So this is another phenomenon I see with senior leaders, is that, you know, I say it, so it should happen. And they continue to push work into the pipeline when they don't have enough resources to actually get it done. But one of the key things about our model is that it's highly integrated with structure, productivity, and accountability. And those three things together, I like to call, or we call, the organizational lever. Because no matter what type of structure you do, if you don't address how you set the business up to be productive, or how you drive things with your accountability system, no structure will work from that perspective.